My husband emptied our daughter's college fund and disappeared with his mistress. I was crushed until our 12-year-old calmly said, "Mom, don't worry, I handled it." Days later, he called shouting after realizing what she had done. Mark was packing clothes into a suitcase when I walked into our bedroom. No explanation, no glance at me, just frantic movements like he was escaping a fire. "What are you doing?" I asked. Without looking up, he muttered, "What I should have done years ago." His words felt like a blow. After 22 years of marriage, this was how it ended. Him stuffing shirts into luggage while I stood there in pajamas, blindsided. "Mark, stop." I grabbed his arm, but he shook me off like I was a stranger. "Talk to me. What's happening?" He finally looked at me, and what I saw chilled me. No guilt, no sadness, just determination. "I'm leaving today, Sarah." Before continuing, thank you for joining me and sharing stories about protecting families. If you believe children deserve financial stability, please subscribe. It's free and helps us reach more people who need these stories. Now, let's look at what Emma uncovered. The room spun. Yesterday we were discussing Emma's college applications over dinner. Yesterday he kissed my forehead. Good night. Yesterday I was a wife, not this. "Is there someone else?" I asked before I could stop myself. Mark froze with a shirt in his hand. For a second, I thought I saw hesitation, but it vanished. "This isn't set about anyone else. I just need space to breathe." But I knew, the way he avoided my eyes, the phone always face down, the endless late meetings, suspicions I had buried for months, were screaming now. "Where will you go?" My voice sounded small. "I still figure it out." He zipped the suitcase with finality. "I need you to transfer my share of the savings into my account." That's when panic hit. The money. Emma's college fund. Our savings. Everything. I rushed downstairs, my bare feet pounding against the floor. Emma looked up from her cereal, concern in her eyes. "Mom, what's wrong?" "Nothing, sweetheart. Dad's just leaving on a trip." The lie tasted bitter. I grabbed my laptop, fingers trembling as I logged into the bank account. The numbers appeared. Checking. $247.83. Savings, 0. College fund, 0. No. The word slipped out like a prayer. I refreshed again and again, but nothing changed. The transaction history showed transfers made 3 days earlier, while I was at book club. Not just his share, not just our savings. He had taken Emma's future too. I called the bank, desperate for an error, but the representative confirmed it. Mark had full access. Every transfer was authorized. "Mom," Emma's voice pulled me back. She was still in her school uniform, hair in a ponytail, backpack by the door, unaware her father had stolen her future. Then footsteps echoed on the stairs. Mark appeared with his suitcase and walked past us toward the door like we weren't even there. "That's it," I finally spoke, my voice stronger than I felt. 22 years, and you just walk away?" He stopped, hand on the doorknob. "I left you a voicemail explaining." "I don't want a voicemail. Look at your daughter and explain why you are leaving her." Emma rose slowly from the table. She didn't cry, beg, or run to him. She just watched with steady eyes so much like his. Mark glanced at her briefly. "You'll understand when you're older." Then to me, "Don't make this harder." The door closed softly, louder in meaning than a slam. Silence filled the kitchen. A car engine started outside. "Is he coming back?" Emma asked. I wanted to lie, to protect her, but looking at her face, I knew she already understood. "I don't think so, baby." She nodded, thoughtful as always. "Did he take our money?" The question startled me. "Some of it," I answered carefully. "My college fund too?" I couldn't speak. I just nodded. Emma rinsed her bowl, put it away, then turned with a calm expression I'd never seen before. Mom, don't worry. I handled it. The words were so unexpected. I almost laughed. Handled what? She was 12. But her tone wasn't childish. It was steady, like she knew something I didn't. What do you mean, sweetheart? She picked up her backpack. I'll miss the bus. We'll talk later, okay? Then she was gone, leaving me in a house that suddenly felt huge and uncertain. That first week without Mark was strange. The house felt not just empty, but watchful. I cried at random moments, folding his clothes, seeing his coffee mug, hearing Emma's alarm each morning. But Emma carried on. Every morning at 7:15, she was ready for school, backpack neat, lunch packed, cheerful as ever. It unsettled me. Are you okay, sweetheart? I asked one morning, holding her wrist gently. She met my eyes. I'm fine, Mom. Are you? I wasn't. I was falling apart, but I couldn't admit it. That evening, I called my sister Janet. Upstairs, I heard Emma typing quickly, the sound sharp and focused. Sarah, how are you holding up? Janet asked kindly. I don't know, I admitted. Emma sips so strong. But she hasn't cried once. I sipped him worried. Kids process differently. Janet reminded me. Remember when Dad left? You cried. I got angry. We all coped in our own way. The typing upstairs stopped, then resumed even faster. What seps that noise? Janet asked. Emma's computer. Probably homework or games, I said, though something felt off. The rhythm was too exact, too intentional. Later, I brought her dinner. She shut her laptop quickly when I entered. Thanks, Mom, she said, avoiding eye contact. Her desk looked ordinary. School planner, textbooks, but too neatly arranged as if staged. What are you working on? I asked casually. History report. She reopened the laptop, and I caught a glimpse of an email program before she minimized it. Need help? I'm good. Thanks for dinner. She dismissed me politely but firmly. Over the next days, the same routine continued. Emma remained composed while I unraveled, checking bank accounts at night, calling Mark just to hear voicemail. Meanwhile, Emma typed late into the night, calm and focused. Then Friday evening, while putting away her laundry, I saw it, a sheet of paper half hidden under her textbook, an email thread. The names at the top froze me. Mark and Rebecca. The dates were from 3 weeks before he left. Discussions of hotel bookings, meeting times, and something about handling Sarah when the time came. I sat on Emma's bed, shaking, staring at the evidence. My 12-year-old had somehow hacked into her father's private emails. How could that even be possible? Mom. Emma's voice from the doorway made me jump. She stood there holding her empty dinner plate, looking at me with calm, steady eyes. No panic, no embarrassment at being discovered, just quiet observation. Emma, where did this come from? She set her plate down and shut her bedroom door. Dad Sep's not very good with passwords. How did you? I began, then stopped. How long have you known about Rebecca? 6 weeks. About the money? I figured that out the day before he left. 6 weeks, while I was completely unaware. My child had been living with this knowledge. I felt sick. Why didn't you tell me? Emma sat next to me on the bed, suddenly looking more like the 12-year-old she actually was. I wanted to be sure, and I wanted to figure out what to do. Honey, this isn't your responsibility. Yes, it is. Her voice was firm. He stole my college fund. He lied to both of us. Someone had to act. I looked around her room with new eyes. Everything seemed different. Her organized desk, her careful routine, her unnatural calm. What else do you know? Emma stood and pulled a spiral notebook from under her mattress. She handed it to me without hesitation. The pages were filled with handwritten notes, printed screenshots, diagrams I couldn't make sense of, and lists of numbers that might be phone numbers or account details. Emma, what is all this? She sat back down beside me. Dad thinks he's smart, but he's careless. He uses the same password everywhere. He doesn't clear his browser history. He doesn't even log out of accounts. I flipped through page after page of detailed records, financial statements, text message screenshots, travel plans. My daughter had been tracking her own father. I struggled for words. This is incredible, and also terrifying. I learned most of it from YouTube tutorials. Computer security is really interesting once you know the basics. Emma, this kind of thing, hacking into someone's SIP's accounts, isn't legal. She looked at me with an expression far too mature for her age. Neither is stealing $75,000 from your daughter's SIP's college fund. The plain way she said it sent chills through me. This wasn't my little girl anymore. This was someone focused, calculating, and unafraid. What are you planning to do with all this information? Emma took the notebook back and closed it carefully. I still figuring that out. But don't worry, Mom. I got it handled. There it was again. The same words she'd said that morning when her father walked out of our lives. But now they carried a weight that made me realize I might not know my own daughter at all. Show me everything, I said, my voice barely steady. Emma hesitated for the first time since this began. Mom, some of it sits pretty bad. Show me. She opened her laptop and clicked on a folder labeled Science Fair Project. Inside were dozens of subfolders titled Financial Records, Communication Logs, and Identity Theft Evidence. My stomach tightened. It started with Dad's second phone, Emma said, clicking on a folder. He thought he hid it in his closet, but I saw him checking it one night when he thought I was asleep. The screen filled with photographs Emma had taken through Mark's bedroom door. They were blurry but clear enough to show him texting on a device I'd never seen before. I waited until he left it, charging in his office one day. I only had maybe 10 minutes, but I got into his messages. Emma's fingers moved across the keyboard with practiced ease. That's how I found Rebecca. A new window opened, filled with screenshots of text conversations. My husband's words to another woman, talking about me like I was an obstacle, planning their future, discussing how to handle me without losing too much money in a divorce. I felt nauseous. But it gets worse, Mom. Emma clicked another folder. Rebecca Sterling works at Dad Sepp's accounting firm. She manages client investments and trust accounts. You found out where she works. I found out everything about her. Address, family, work history, credit score, even her Netflix password. Emma's voice stayed matter-of-fact, like she was describing a school project. Sepp's been stealing money from clients for 2 years. The evidence was overwhelming. Bank transfers from client accounts into personal ones, fake invoices for services never delivered, and investment statements that didn't match balances. Emma had accessed Rebecca's work systems and documented everything. Emma, how did you even get into their systems? Rebecca uses the same password for everything. Sterling 2011, that sips her last name, and college graduation year. I found it on her LinkedIn. Emma shrugged like it was obvious. People are predictable with passwords. I stared at my daughter, this stranger sitting beside me. But how did you learn to do all this? YouTube mostly, and some computer programming forums. There sips a lot of information, if you know how to look. She clicked to another folder, and my world tilted again. Bank statements with my name on them, but accounts I'd never opened. Credit applications under Emma's social security number. Loan documents signed with forged signatures. Mom, Dad didn't just take our money. He's been using our identities to get loans. The $75,000 from my college fund, That was just the down payment on a $200,000 loan he took out in my name. What? The word escaped as a whisper. He and Rebecca are buying a house together in Florida. They used my credit history and your employment information to secure the mortgage. Emma Sepp's jaw tightened. They were going to disappear and leave us with the debt. The room spun. Identity theft. Fraud. My husband hadn't just abandoned us. He'd destroyed our financial future to build a new life. But here's the thing, Emma continued. And I heard something new in her tone, something cold, almost satisfied. I caught them before they could complete the purchase. She opened another folder labeled Countermeasures. Inside were official-looking documents, fraud reports filed with credit agencies, complaints sent to banking authorities, anonymous tips submitted to Rebecca's employer. I've been working on this for 3 weeks, Emma explained. I documented everything first, then started dismantling their plans piece by piece. What do you mean? Well, Rebecca got suspended from work yesterday. Her boss received an anonymous email with all the evidence of her embezzlement. Her clients are moving their accounts. The state board is opening an investigation. My mouth fell open. You did that? She stole money from elderly people saving for retirement. Mom, she deserved it. Emma's voice was steady, almost righteous. And that's just the beginning. She showed me more files. Credit agencies had frozen the fraudulent accounts opened in our names. The Florida mortgage application had been flagged and denied. Rebecca's landlord had received a tip about illegal activity in her apartment and started eviction proceedings. But the best part, Emma said, clicking to a final folder, is what I sent to her father, Dr. Robert Sterling. He's a prominent surgeon, very concerned about his family, SIP's reputation. He received a detailed letter about his daughter SIP's criminal activities, along with all the evidence. I felt dizzy. Emma, what have you done? SIP protected us. She closed the laptop and met my eyes. Dad thought he could steal from us and walk away. He thought we'd be too broken to fight back. He was wrong. But sweetheart, this kind of thing, going after people, it's dangerous. More dangerous than letting them destroy our lives. Emma stood and looked out the window at the darkening sky. Mom, they didn't just take our money. They took my future. They took your security. They took everything we worked for and gave it to themselves. I watched my daughter, her small frame silhouetted against the window, and realized she was right. While I had been crying and calling Mark's voicemail, Emma had been fighting for us. What happens now? I asked. Emma turned back to me, looking older than her years. Now we wait. Rebecca SIP's world is collapsing, and she doesn't even know why yet. When Dad realizes what SIP's happening, he'll panic, and when people panic, they make mistakes. How can you be so calm about this? Because I'm not the one who has to be scared anymore, she said simply. They are. That night, I lay awake, thinking about the child sleeping down the hall. She'd saved us, but at what cost? What kind of person had my daughter become in the process? And more frightening still, what else was she capable of? Around midnight, I heard it again. The soft, steady clicking of computer keys. Emma was still working, still planning, still protecting us in ways I couldn't fully understand. I should have felt grateful. Instead, I felt afraid. The phone rang at exactly 2:15 on a Tuesday afternoon. I was in the kitchen washing dishes when Mark's name flashed across the screen. My hands were still soapy as I fumbled for the phone, my heart racing. Hello? My voice came out smaller than I intended. Sarah. Mark SIP's voice was different, strained, almost desperate. We need to talk. Something very strange is happening. I dried my hands, glancing toward the living room where Emma was supposedly doing homework. What kind of strange? My bank called this morning. All my accounts have been flagged for suspicious activity. They SEP frozen everything pending some kind of federal review. His words came out rushed and panicked. And Rebecca lost her job yesterday. Security escorted her out of the building. Emma appeared in the kitchen doorway, still in her school uniform. She quietly poured a glass of water, but I noticed she was listening carefully. "I don't understand what this has to do with me," I told Mark. "It's too much of a coincidence," he replied. "First Rebecca gets fired over supposed embezzlement. Now my accounts are under investigation. Someone is targeting us, Sarah. Someone with serious tech skills." Emma set her glass down, sat at the kitchen table, and opened her laptop. She typed quickly, her screen filled with windows and data. "Who would do that?" I asked, though I already suspected. "That SEP's what I SEP trying to figure out," Mark said. "Rebecca thinks maybe someone from her office, maybe a coworker," she said. His voice stopped suddenly. "Wait, what was that sound?" I looked at Emma. She had clicked something, and a soft chime echoed through the call. "What sound?" I asked. "A beep. Like someone accessed my email," Mark said, his voice tightening. "Sarah, someone SEP's in my computer right now. My emails are opening and closing. Someone SEP's reading them as we speak." Emma's hands moved across the keys smoothly, her screen showing emails, financial records, and live data. She was in his system, following everything. "Mark, maybe you should hang up and call your bank." "No, wait. I need to ask you something." His tone grew suspicious. "Sarah, did you hire someone? A private investigator? A computer expert? If you did, call them off right now. This is illegal." Emma looked up and shook her head slightly before turning back to her laptop. "I didn't hire anyone," I said honestly. "Then who?" Mark SEP's voice was cut off by frantic typing. "Someone just sent an email from my account to my boss. They SEP're impersonating me. Sarah, they SEP're posting my financial records and private messages with Rebecca on social media." I caught a glimpse of Emma's screen before she angled it away. "Mark, you need to call the police if someone SIP's hacking you." "You think I haven't?" They said, "If the information is real, it's not harassment, it's whistleblowing." But how would anyone have the real files unless they were inside my accounts? His words slowed as the truth sank in. He lowered his voice. "Sarah, I need you to understand. The money I took, I was going to replace it. Rebecca had an investment opportunity. It was guaranteed to double in 6 months. We were going to surprise you and Emma with even more than what was there." Emma glanced up. Her expression was not angry or hurt, but sharply calculating. "Mark, that SIP's not alone. You can SIP take money without permission and excuse it as one. You don't understand the pressure," he said quickly. "Rebecca SIP's father was going to cut her off unless she proved she could support herself. She needed the house. Once he accepted her, he help me start my firm. We be rich, Sarah. Rich enough to pay for Emma SIP's college 10 times over." Emma snapped her laptop shut, walked over, and took the phone from my hand. "Hi, Dad," she said calmly. "Emma, thank God. Someone SIP's framing me and Rebecca. They SIPs were making us look like criminals. You have to tell your mom I SIP'd never steal from you." "But you did steal from me," Emma replied evenly. "You took $75,000 from my college fund and used it for a mortgage application in Florida." Silence stretched for 10 seconds. "Emma, who told you that?" "Nobody. I found out myself. I also found the forged loan documents with my social security number on them." "That SEP's impossible. You SEP 12. You can understand. I understand identity theft. I understand Rebecca embezzled money from clients. I understand you plan to disappear and leave Mom and me with the debt." "Emma, listen. Adults make financial decisions. Kids don't understand. What looks wrong might actually I have copies of everything. Emma interrupted. Emails. Transactions. Every document. I Sep been watching for weeks. Mark Sep's breathing grew unsteady. You Sep been watching me. What does that mean? It means I know about your second phone. I know about Rebecca Sep's fake investment accounts. I know about the Florida house. And I know she stopped answering your calls when the money ran out and she got fired. Mark Sep's voice cracked. How could you know that? Because I Sep monitoring all your communications, Emma said. Rebecca blocked you yesterday after her father cut her off. She Sep's already seeing someone else. A broken sound came through the phone. Emma, please. I know I Sep made mistakes, but I love you. I love your mother. I never wanted it to end like this. You chose money over us, Dad. You stole my future. Actions have consequences. You taught me that when you left with your suitcase. I is stum begging you. Stop this. I have nothing left. I stum living in my car. I can set rent. I can set work. Please. Emma's eyes met mine as she delivered her final words. You taught me something important, Dad, that sometimes the people who should protect you don't set. So you protect yourself. She ended the call and placed the phone on the counter. He won set call back, she said flatly. How do you know? Because he knows I stem watching, and he knows every move he makes. Estelle C. She picked up her laptop. I have homework. I stood in silence, realizing my daughter had dismantled her father's life with precision, and that he had brought it on himself. The next morning, Emma appeared at breakfast like any other middle schooler. She ate, checked her backpack, and kissed my cheek as if nothing had happened. Emma, wait. I stopped her at the door. Are you okay? I stem fine, Mom. Why wouldn't set I be? Because of yesterday. The talk with your dad. I Sep am not upset. I Sep am relieved. He knows I know, and he knows there are consequences. But don't set you miss him. I miss the dad I thought he was. But that person wasn't set real. He was just a role he played when it suited him. Her words chilled me. Emma, maybe you should talk to someone. A counselor. These are big emotions. I told my mom, I Sep not having big emotions. I Sep having the right emotions. She opened the door and I added, but if it helps you, I don't Sep mind talking to someone. After Emma left for school, I called our pediatrician. Dr. Martinez recommended a child psychologist, Dr. Patricia Reeves, who specialized in family trauma and gifted children. He explained that gifted kids often process situations differently, sometimes analyzing emotions instead of simply feeling them. Dr. Reeves could meet Emma the following week. Until then, I found myself watching my daughter like she was a puzzle. Emma kept her daily routine: school, homework, even helping with dinner. But there were quiet changes. She had taken over our household finances, creating spreadsheets to track our reduced income and upcoming expenses. She researched legal aid services and organized documents on divorce and asset recovery. One night, she looked at me across the kitchen table and said, "Mom, you need to file for divorce now. Every day you wait gives Dad more time to hide money or build debt in your name. Emma, these are adult concerns. You shouldn't have to worry about them." She sat across from me calmly. "You said you're depressed, and that Sep's understandable, but not useful right now. I Sep not depressed, so I can think clearly about what needs to be done." Her words stung, only because she was right. I had been stuck, waiting for this nightmare to fix itself. She was the one taking real steps for our future. Dr. Reeves' office was painted in calming blues and greens, children's artwork on the wall. I expected Emma to be nervous for her first session, but she walked in like she was at a meeting. "Emma, I septum Dr. Reeves. Your mom thought it might help to talk about some changes in your family." "That Sep's fine. I assume this is mandatory after what I did to my father." Dr. Reeves blinked. surprised by her bluntness. "Can you tell me about that?" For 45 minutes, Emma laid everything out, discovering Mark's affair, exposing his financial crimes, dismantling his and Rebecca's lives, presented as if it were a school project. "How did that make you feel?" Dr. Reeves asked. "Satisfied. He stole from me, so I made sure there were consequences. It felt like justice." "Do you feel sad about him leaving?" "I feel sad that he became the kind of person who would steal from his child, but not about him facing the outcome of his choices." After the session, Dr. Reeves spoke to me privately. "Mrs. Patterson, your daughter is remarkable. Her intellect and resilience are extraordinary. Trauma affects children differently. Some fall apart, others, especially analytical ones, take control. Emma isn't broken. She's adapted. The real question is whether you're comfortable with who she's becoming." That night, I found Emma on her laptop. She wasn't coding or hacking. It was a document titled "Digital Safety for Families: Warning Signs and Protection Strategies." "What steps this?" I asked. "I set them writing a guide for kids whose parents might be stealing from them, and for adults who don't see financial fraud." She showed me detailed sections on password safety, spotting forged documents, and protecting personal data. It was well-researched and clear. "Emma, this is incredible. Where did you learn all this?" "I've been researching family fraud for weeks. It's steps more common than people realize. Mrs. Henderson asked me to present it to the PTA. Apparently, 3 other families nearby had the same issues. She wasn't just surviving our crisis, she was turning it into a tool to help others." "How do you feel about presenting this to adults?" I asked. "Nervous but excited. People need to know how simple protections can prevent this." She closed her laptop and looked at me seriously. "Mom, are you ashamed of what I did to Dad?" "Ashamed? Emmy, you saved us. You protected our family when I couldn't sit. But you look at me differently, like were worried." Not worried about what you did. Null worried about what it cost you. You become stronger than any child should need to be. Do you think you stirred damaged? No. I think I understand how the world works now. And when you understand something, you can protect yourself and others. That's why I'm writing the guide. Maybe something good can come from Dad. Sep's choices." That night, as I tucked her in, she asked quietly, "Do you think Dad ever really loved us?" I hesitated, then answered, "I think he loved the idea of us, but when loving us became hard, he chose himself." That's what I thought too. She hugged her stuffed elephant and whispered, "Good night, Mom." "Good night, sweetheart." Standing in the hall, I replayed Dr. Reeves' words. Maybe Emma wasn't broken. Maybe she was exactly who she needed to be to survive, and maybe even to protect others. 6 months later, while working at the library, my supervisor whispered nervously, "Sarah, a reporter sits here asking about Emma." My heart sank. At the front desk, a reporter introduced herself. "Mrs. Patterson. Jennifer Walsh. From Channel 7. We covering the Sterling embezzlement case. Your ex-husband was involved. Someone provided remarkably detailed evidence. We love to thank them." I brushed her off quickly, then rushed home. "Emma, a reporter came today asking about Rebecca Sterling." Without looking up from her homework, she said, "They still never connected to me. I used proxy servers and cryptocurrency." "It sits fine, Mom. The more coverage, the more victims will step forward. 12 other families have already contacted authorities." Her casual tone still startled me. She had triggered a federal investigation and treated it like a project. 3 weeks later, Emma received an email that changed everything. A tech company, Secure Family, had uncovered her identity and offered her a spot in their youth program. A full scholarship to any college, a guaranteed job, and a starting salary of $120,000. Emma, this is incredible. This could set you up for life. I know. She closed the laptop calmly. I kept turning it down. What? Why? Because they want to own everything I create. They want me to create security software that profits from fear instead of actually protecting people. Emma said, standing at the window of our small living room. Besides, I already have a job. I frowned. What do you mean? She pulled a business card from her backpack. It looked polished and professional. E. Patterson, Family Financial Protection Consultant. I've been helping families secure their finances and recover from fraud for a month now. I already have 6 clients, and they pay me $75 an hour. I stared at the card, surprised by the crisp design and official contact details. Emma, you Sipter 13. How are you running a consulting business? Age doesn't matter online. My clients think I'm an adult cybersecurity specialist. I've even replaced most of my college fund already. She opened a spreadsheet showing her income. The numbers were staggering. She'd earned more in 1 month than I made in 3 at the library. What kind of services do you offer? I asked. I help families spot financial red flags, secure digital accounts, and recover stolen money. Just last week, I helped a family in Ohio recover $30,000 their son had stolen from his grandmother. Is it legal? Completely. I teach people how to protect themselves and guide them through the proper authorities when crimes are involved. She closed the spreadsheet. I'm also speaking at a cybersecurity conference next month. I'll appear as Dr. E. Patterson through encrypted video. No one will question my age. That night, I read updates on the Rebecca Sterling case. The story had gone viral, spreading across news sites and social media. Thousands of people praised the anonymous whistleblower, while others shared their own experiences of financial betrayal, parents stealing from children, spouses hiding money, relatives exploiting the elderly. Emma's work had opened the door for countless untold stories, and no one suspected the source was a 12-year-old girl. 2 months into our new life, Emma asked me a question that caught me off guard. Mom, do you think Dad ever regrets what he did? We were washing dishes, and I nearly dropped a plate. She had mentioned Mark in weeks. I don't know, sweetheart. Why do you ask? I'd been monitoring his social media. He talks about starting over and making better choices, but he never mentions us. She dried a glass with care. Do you think he realizes what he lost? What do you think? I asked. Emma paused. I think regret is just feeling sorry for yourself when you face consequences. That's different from understanding why what you did was wrong. Do you want him to regret it? I pressed. No. I want him to understand it, but I don't think he can. She folded the towel and put it away, closing the topic like she always did with her father. As spring arrived, Emma's consulting business expanded. She began creating free resources, security checklists, guides to spotting warning signs, and clear steps for reporting financial crimes. I want to turn this into a nonprofit. When I turn 18, she told me one night, something that gives free protection services to families who can afford private help. That's a wonderful goal, Emma, I said. It started because of Dad, but now it's about something bigger. So many families are betrayed by people they trust. One evening, I overheard her on a video call. Her voice was calm, reassuring. I know it's scary discovering your mom used your college fund, but it's going to be okay. I will help you protect what's left and make sure it doesn't happen again. She was speaking to another teenager. Emma had become a lifeline for children facing the same kind of betrayal we had endured. The most important thing to remember, she told them, is that this isn't your fault. Adults are supposed to protect children, not steal from them. When they fail, we have to protect ourselves. I walked away with tears in my eyes, not from sadness, but pride. Mark had tried to break us, but instead he had shaped something stronger. Emma had turned her pain into a mission to protect others. The next morning, she came to breakfast like any other 8th grader, backpack slung over her shoulder. But I knew better. Beneath that ordinary exterior was someone extraordinary. Someone who had taken the worst experience of her life and used it to create something good. "Ready for school?" I asked, kissing her forehead. "Always. And Mom, I love you." "I love you too, sweetheart." As I watched her walk to the bus stop, I realized Mark's betrayal hadn't destroyed us. It revealed what we were made of. Emma had gained not just justice, but a purpose, and she was using it to safeguard others. Mark could keep whatever life he had left. We had built something more valuable: resilience, hope, and a future Emma was determined to share with the world. If this story of a 12-year-old's digital justice kept you engaged, hit the like button right now. My favorite moment was when Emma calmly told her father, "You chose her, so live with her." What was yours? Share in the comments below. And don't forget, subscribe and tap the notification bell so you never miss another powerful story like this one.